There are many people searching for answers. What will I be in the future? Why am I not as bright as this person or that person? Why are my grades so poor? The questions are endless, especially for young Africans. We want to help. We have a solution. At GradePlus Africa, we believe African students can live purpose-driven lives, be exceptional academically, and have superior mental strength. We have just the right tools and resources to make this happen.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, it's amazing again having every one of us here. So I guess we just have to start, and every other person will join us while we continue the webinar. Yes, so let me show my face again. All right, so it's awesome having us here, and I want to welcome us to this awesome session that's going to be mind-blowing. It's going to be very insightful. I'm so sure about that. Personally, I am ready to also learn. So we're going to go ahead and continue this webinar right away. And while we were believing that quite a number of people should still join this webinar, so let me dive in immediately. And first of all, I'm going to talk about GradePlus Africa before I invite our guests this evening. So my name is Tolu Obatunde, and I am the CEO and co-founder of GradePlus Africa. And GradePlus Africa is an amazing startup. It's an EdTech startup that seeks to teach students and professionals how to learn. And I'm going to repeat myself. We teach students and professionals how to learn. And you heard me correctly. Majorly, one of the major concern is that students get to learn subjects and all of that, but little effort is actually invested in educating students on how to learn. So more effort is put into what to learn and not how to learn. Okay, and why it's so important to know how to learn. Okay, before you even learn anything at all, or as you learn on the go. Because how you're going to make best of the knowledge you're acquiring as a student, or while you're even in your professional space, you're trying to grow, you're trying to advance in your career, you're trying to learn more and all of that. And as a student, you're trying to ace your grades and all of that. So all of this requires you taking in knowledge and understanding it, and then reproducing it in different ways. So if how to learn is not there, is missing, then there is going to be very low productivity level, and that is actually what tanks down to low human resource capital and all of that, and eventually all of this cumulates to affect the overall economic performance of a nation and even a continent at large, and anybody. So it's something that is a big issue. And right now we are doing that basically in two ways. We connect students to their and professionals to their best career paths, because studies make it clear that students and professionals do well when they are connected to when they are studying or working on what connects with their personality. Okay, so that's one key important part of our offering, and that is done via an algorithm that actually suggests best career paths based on your most prevalent personality. And also the other one is the other solution we provide in the market is that we curate courses that help you improve your cognitive skill and also help you to become a better person, both as a student and as a professional. So, and while that is not the reason why we are here today, so you can explore more on GradePlus Africa on our website, www.gradeplusafrica.com. But today, we are here on a learning webinar. It's the end of the year 2023, and we, as much as we are passionate about reaching our audience, we are much more passionate about the impact that comes after our encounter with our target audience. Okay, and everyone that is connected in our network, and that's one of the reasons why this December the entire team decided to set up this free webinar for as many people that will be able to join, and also people that will be watching the record and all of that. So it's a free webinar, but it's rich, and this we want to do this so that we can set the tone for 2024 in the best way we can. So welcome again to learning webinar from GradePlus Africa, and today we are going to be discussing productive learning, and that is so key. Give me a moment to do justice to invite, or rather welcome our speaker today. So we are going to be discussing productive learning guide for students, and also we have professionals here also on the call, so and even parents. As if you're a parent here, it's so important that you listen so that you can know how to also help your children and your world as they grow along. Okay, so provide productive learning guide for students and professionals, and we are doubling down on the acts and the strategies. How do we learn productively? All right, so so I'm going to be inviting Mr. Omotayo Olorunfemi. We have him on the call already. Permit me to read his bio. Yeah, I'm so happy to actually have him. He's an asset, and I know what I'm saying. Mr. Omotayo Olorunfemi is a seasoned professional in education with over 12 years of experience in the K-12 sector. He excels as a learning and development specialist, a learning scientist, and an instructional designer. Olorunfemi expertise lies in leading instructional design and curriculum development in STEM education, teacher training, and professional development. Is adept at implementing educational technology solutions and managing learning initiatives. As a researcher, his research interest is in the application of the learning sciences, learning analytics, and learning engineering competencies to enable, optimize, and support how learning happens while improving learning outcomes and closing learning gaps in resource deficient and underserved communities and the economies, underserved communities and economies. And as a vision of enabling learning for 1 billion learners in developing economies through applied learning science, learning analytics, learning engineering, and learning ecosystems. Olorunfemi is passionate about youth development, digitalization, and democratization of quality learning and quality learning content in solving the global learning crisis. Is a firm believer in the capacity of educators all over Africa to create the future they seek to see in the education industry, and an advocate of SDGs Goal 4, SDG Goal 5, and SDG Goal 8. So it is with amazing excitement and utmost joy in my heart to present to you the amiable, most esteemed Mr. Omotayo Olorunfemi on this webinar. So kindly welcome him with with emojis and the chatbots with round of applause and all of that. So can we welcome Mr. Olorunfemi? Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tolu. Please confirm that you can hear me.
Yes, yes, you are audible.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Good evening. And it's awesome to be in this session and to be able to share with us. I want to believe that the few minutes we will spend together will be worth the while for each and every one of us. Good evening once again.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Yeah, we are so thrilled to have you. And so we're going to be diving in directly into the um, major topic that is before us today. So it's going to be. I want to say this is going to be interactive. As I mentioned, Mr. Olorunfemi is very vast, and this is a free webinar that you don't want to take for granted. And so let's pay attention and also get your paper, your booklet, your pen, your writing pad, or whatever it is that you're going to take notes with, and then get ready to ask questions as well. So if you have questions as we go through this topic, make sure you don't keep it in your head. Write it down or something, and then when it's time to ask questions, you can drop it. So it's going to be what it. But it's going to be interactive. So um, I'm going to be facilitating. I have the privilege to host this session. So I'm going to be facilitating. I'm going to jumpstart the conversation with questions, and then we'll have Mr. Olorunfemi weigh in and give us a succinct explanation, whatever it is that we really need to understand today. All right, so let's get started. So, yes, it's nice having to discuss this topic, and I actually want to throw it this way. We're talking about productive learning here, and now the word productive and then the word learning. So it's kind of direct, but we need to really understand. So I really want you, sir, to start out with helping us understand what it means to learn productively, both especially as a student or also as a, let's say, a professional, either an entry level professional who is trying to push his or her way up a career and trying to grow, because learning is across different cadres, and even an established professional that wants to increase the knowledge. Every other in all these three categories, students, as an entry level professional, and then as a professional that is established. So, what does it really to learn productively?
All right, thank you so much. Tolu, please confirm you can still hear me.
Yes, we can
All
hear
right.
you and we can see you.
All right, thank you so much. Now we're looking at productive learning, and I think the first thing I want to do is to try and see if I can break that into that term into two. What does it mean to be productive? What does it mean to learn? And then we can now bring both of them together. Now, in summary, to be productive is to work towards the achievement of a goal. To be productive is to be result oriented. It is to be focused towards achieving a set goal and target, and you actually achieving it. Everything you do towards achieving that goal and target, ensuring that you focus towards that, is all of what productivity is all about. And it encompasses making the most of the resources um, that you have at your disposal. Now, when it comes to learning, it's learning in itself is a change in behavior. It is a transformation in the behavior of an individual based on the sum total of what he or she has been exposed to. So when we talk about learning, learning is actually what you do to yourself. It is not what someone does to you. A teacher cannot make a student learn. It's very important we set that distinction. A teacher cannot make a student learn. The best a teacher can do is to teach. Now, learning is not what someone does to you. Learning is what you do to yourself. So it's
Wow.
this. It is the sum total of all of the experiences that you allow yourself to go through that leads to a change in behavior, a change in approach, a change that brings about a transformation. Now, when we now talk about productive learning now could now be defined as maybe an educational approach that emphasizes active engagement, okay, an approach to learning that emphasizes active engagement, that emphasizes a focus on results, that emphasizes the practical application of knowledge. When you apply knowledge practically towards the end goal or towards the end result, then we can say that you're learning productively. I think let me stop there for now.
Wow, wow, wow. That's amazing. Like I'm practically taking notes. I'm not joking. So it's that's so amazing, sir. So and what got me thinking was exactly when you mentioned that learning is not what someone does to you. It's something you do to yourself. That's super amazing. So the best is that a teacher or an educator or probably a material that you're reading can only allow you, give you that room
Mm-hmm.
to study.
Mm-hmm.
But you learning really depends on what you do to yourself. That's amazing. Thank
That's
you
true.
so much for that. So
Mm.
yeah. So now that's very insightful and talking on productivity now and productive learning, where that you define as the approach that emphasizes the the practical application of
Yes.
yes of that thing you've learned. So now and that is what um changes paradigms. That is what shifts people from level A to B. The fact that I was able to learn and then I can now practicalize and implement what I've learned. So, but and if that is going to happen in a place and what is what's prevalent in an environment, then it won't be so long before people change their lives and also change their society. So,
That's
but now we see that not the case is not always like this. So, I would ask that what do you think, or what would you say are the causes of unproductive learning? Why do students learn and not become productive eventually? So what can be things that can actually cause unproductive learning actually?
all right. Thank you so much. When it comes to unproductive learning, you could more or less invert what I said the other time about productive learning. That gives you what is responsible for unproductive learning. Now, but you see, there's something I call the attention triangle, the attention triangle, and on the in the attention triangle, it was a triangle I created. I wrote a book, call it an e-book, sometimes this year on attention. And you need to know that the first step for every learning process is attention 100%. Because unless you get the learner attention, learning can never happen. And on that attention triangle, we have three key ingredients for each of the core section of a triangle, each of the angles in a triangle, three angles. We have three very critical factors that are responsible for attention. Number one is fascination. Number two is curiosity. Number three is interest. You see, learning can never start. A learner can never learn unless he or she is curious about the subject matter to be learned. You see, this goes across whether, because I understand that the fact that our audience is not just they're not just learners, maybe in the K-12 system or maybe even the university college system. We have professionals on the call and all of that. You need to know that any form of learning starts with these three key ingredients, and that's what sustains it. Number one is curiosity, number two is fascination, and number three is interest. Until a learner is curious about what he or she wants to learn. So when I use the word learner, I use that to generalize every category of learner. Now, when a learner is curious about what he or she wants to learn, he or she pays more attention, he or she is more interested, he or she is more focused. The same thing applies to fascination. Fascination leads to exploration. If you're not fascinated about something, you will not explore. And exploration is what brings depth and intensity. And you see, learning cannot happen unless there's depth and intensity. An intensity to learn that subject matter. And it's fascination that creates that. And then unless something is interesting, even you, everything we do every day, one of the reasons why we engage in those activities, whether in a formal or informal context, is the fact that we find them interesting. Anytime we feel something is boring, in quotes, like we will always say, you will discover that there's that disconnection. So, what is it that makes learning unproductive? One of the core factors that makes learning unproductive is that there's a disconnection between what the learner is being exposed to and many a times what the learner himself wants to learn. It's very important that we stress that. That's the first critical factor that makes learning unproductive. And then another thing that could make learning unproductive is the fact that when there's no core focus or end results that the learner can get out of that learning process. Because of time, let me just quickly let me just mention some few. And then number three, just like when I was speaking to productive learning, number three is one other thing that makes learning very unproductive is when there's no practical application or use cases, like we will use the language of maybe AI now, where there are no practical use cases for that learning experience. When it's just abstract, when it's not targeted, when I cannot see how does this apply to my day-to-day experiences in real time, then it begins to break that connection. But you see, where there are practical use cases, that will foster and engender learning. I think let me stop here.
Actually, this is very interesting. So thank you for this clarity. Wow, like you mentioned when you were talking about attention triangle, that you were talking about fascination, curiosity, and interest, and this is very key because if these three are not in place, actually, so learning is very difficult. So now I will take it a step further. Now I'm just gonna ask you this question, and now because the goal will now be because you're still gonna talk a bit more on what are the strategies to imbibe productive learning. You have mentioned a few things right now about what causes unproductive learning. So, but we're still gonna just elaborate on how do we learn and become productive with what we learn and just something like that. So, but before that, I want to say something because this attention, because one of the things we really teach in GradePlus Africa, one of our courses is called meta attention, and we understand that key that without attention you cannot. That's the first level of learning, and then to get the attention of the learner, and then you now go through the triangle that you mentioned. So, but what's now the I want you to how do I put this? So, since we have this thing called productive learning, so that means there is words we call productive teaching, and that is just a little bit of a digress to educators. Like, so what's the difference between productive learning and productive teaching? And how do we foster productive teaching? Just a bit, just touch a bit on that.
Okay, thank you so much. To speak to productive teaching. So basically, if you look at my definition of productive learning, then you will know that productive teaching simply means fostering a learning environment. Note that it's very important to teach productively is to
Yeah,
foster a learning environment that prioritizes an engaging and effective um, activity application of knowledge. That is, it focuses on fostering a learning environment that prioritizes an engaging and effective and an outcome-based learning experiences, or what we call learning instructions or learning experiences. I've used a lot of terms that are very critical. One of those terms is a learning environment. The learning environment is a sum total of everything that makes learning possible. So it's not just the classroom. So to say, if I use the K-12 concept, it is also it also involves what we call the learning experiences. That is,
yeah,
an experience is something that is an unforgettable encounter. So um, so every engagement the learner we have, right from coming into the learning hall, even if it's an online course for say someone who is mature, an adult, a professional who is learning in the course of work, learning experiences and the sum total of all of those learning exposures you have, the way the course are structured, the intro, the assessment, everything, the maybe the social community built around it, the forum, all of this are what we call the learning experiences. So whenever a teaching is happening, it involves fostering a learning environment that puts first the learning experiences being engaging, being effective, outcome focused, which speaks to the application of knowledge using real life learning experience, real life learning, real world examples. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Real world examples. You discover that the learning is tailored towards having a productive outcome. Then we can say that is a productive teaching ongoing.
wow. Yeah, thank you so much. And the reason why I asked that question is basically to just open that aspect of productivity for educators that will be listening. Yeah, thank you very much. So, yeah, that will lead me to the major question I would really love you to weigh in a bit, and then I'm going to probably have a stay up probably 2 or 3 questions before I entertain questions. If there are any questions in the house. So I want now we've spoken about what productive learning is, and what are the major things that actually causes unproductive learning. You spoke about the attention triangle. If there is a disconnect between what is taught and what the learner wants to learn and all of that. So now that we are approaching 2024, and as learners at different categories, we want to optimize our learning experience next year. So how do we, can you take us step by step there as much as you can to add to what you said before? How do we, what are the acts and the strategies? Because of course, when we want to approach, for instance, now the attention triangle, there may be probably distractions and all of that. So how do we harness the the resources available, but at any level, um, maybe we are underserved or we are resourced, whatever it is we are about, we ensure that we learn productively. How can we facilitate productive learning? So just give us the acts and the strategies.
All right, thank you so much. Speaking to strategies, I'll share a few of them that could help us learn productively. Now, the first thing I will always say when it comes to learning is, as a learner, whether you're a professional, like I keep saying, this embodies every level of learning, no matter the level where you are. As a learner, one of the first questions you need to ask yourself is, why am I interested in learning what I want to learn? For me, it starts with having a big picture. What's the big picture? What's the goal? Why am I learning this? Am I learning this because everybody is learning it? Am I learning it because I feel it's the next thing to do? You see, every learning exposures and experiences must be connected to a big picture. Because if you're clear about that big picture, you'll be able to give your learning the required attention that it demands. So first and foremost, you want to understand what's the big picture. Why am I learning this? That's number one. Number two, okay, which is still in a little way tied to number one, is the fact that don't just learn for the sake of learning, in quote. Don't learn for the sake of learning. Learn simply because there is a goal that you want to achieve. There is a focus. Like I said earlier, there is a big picture. It's very important to start from there. Then number two, how do I learn productively? Number two is you need to determine what is the scope of this learning journey I'm embarking on. What is it? What is the scope? The scope speaks to where does it start, where does it end. One of the reasons why when we do course designs and all of that, maybe online courses, it's structured in chapters or in modules and all of that. It's simply because it helps to break down the learning journey into, let me say, like step by step, so to say, or into manageable scopes where you could see that, okay, if I finish module one, I have completed one of five, so to say, of all the five modules I need to learn in this course. So it helps to give you that structure. Um, so it's also very important that you set a scope for your learning journey. In 2024, you want to be intentional. In 2024, you want to be deliberate. And the only thing that will foster intentionality and deliberateness in your learning is that you define a scope for it. You don't want to learn because everybody is learning this and that, or everybody is jumping on that certification and that. No, you want to learn because there is a goal, there is a result, there is an outcome you're interested in, and you can also see how it connects, like I said earlier on, to whatever your whole big picture is. It could be to a promotion, it could be to get the certification that takes me to the next level of what I do, of my career. It could be even a career transition. It could be, and for the K-12, it could just be, oh, I need to keep learning so that I can move to the next grade level. Whatever it is, keep these two in mind. Number three that we'll also want to mention is the fact that when it comes to strategies for learning effectively, you must also leverage. I want to say leverage various approaches to learning. What do I mean by that? So don't just make it one way. This is where maybe at times when we use courses comes in quite a little bit handy, is the fact that you use various learning approaches. You could use videos, you could use audios, you could use text, you could also even use what we call project-based learning. So the whole idea is you want to ensure that your learning approach is not one directional, is not unidirectional, like we will
Yeah.
always say. Yes, so don't make it unidirectional. It will help because variety like this is the spice of life. It will help to bring in the variety into your learning, into the learning process. Then number four for me is learning the open. Let me say it that way. Learning the open. Personally, as an individual, one of what I have decided to do in 2024 is to build publicly. That
Mm.
is learning the open. Learning in the open means you share your learning. Yes, many all of us were always afraid. There's that jitteriness. Will they say this is good enough? Will this, will that? All of those things, those fears, those doubts that hold us down. Learning the open. Share what you're learning. I just finished module one of this. I learned this and this and that. Share what you learn. Share on social media. Share in communities. Just share. Learn in the open. Whatever you're doing, learn in the open. Learning in the open also makes you accountable. I know I followed a couple of people who will say, for the next first 3 months of 2023, I'll be taking one, two, three courses. I'll be using LinkedIn as a kind of repository to tell the stories. People do all of that because of public accountability. People will hold you accountable. It will also help you to focus on your learning so that you don't get distracted, you don't get sidelined. So that will be I think that's number three or four. I said learn in the open. Five. Number five will be I will say embrace peer-to-peer learning. Okay, embrace peer-to-peer learning. And by that, it's not the same thing as learning in the open. Embracing peer-to-peer learning, it's more like a community learning, social forum. It's better for two, three, four of us to want to learn the same thing or to want to learn. So let me put it this way. So it's not even necessary that the two, three, four, five of us, we could be more than that. I'm just using that number. But it's more interesting if we have five people coming together. They may even be pursuing different learning goals. But for the mere fact that they're saying, okay, every day we will put in 1 hour into this learning journey. So all they need to do is to come on, maybe they have a WhatsApp group or something, a social platform where they connect, and every day we learn from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. And they keep to that irrespective of whatever they're learning, and they are following up, they're checking up. Are you learning any challenge here and there? It's very important. Embrace peer-to-peer learning, and if you could find people who are willing to learn the same thing you want to learn, beautiful and awesome, join that community. Let that community spoil you. I remember I was taking some courses earlier this year, and I was onboarded on a WhatsApp group of this learning community. Everybody was learning the same thing. You see, the mere fact that some persons come around to say, oh, after 2, 3 months, I finished the first course, this is the certificate. It spurs you, it gears you to want to say, me too, I need to sit up so that I can learn and all of that. And then there's that question, you see people that have difficulty, in this, I'm having a challenge, who can explain this and all of that. That social community to learning is very key, especially in a time that we live in, like the 21st century, where there's a possibility of isolation, even in learning and all of that. Just you alone somewhere doing something on your own alone, you will not be able to even evaluate yourself. But when you learn in communities enables you to be able to push that learning experience. And then maybe to speak to one or two more strategies for learning, is the fact that it will be good to make your learning structured There was something I did because even last year. So I discovered I wasn't reading enough like I would love to read. And I have a lot of books. I have a personal library of my own and I love reading. I discovered I was no longer reading the way I would have loved to read. So I became very worried and bothered. So sometimes I just sat down one day and I said, okay, what strategy am I going to adopt? And I decided to adopt a strategy. I said I will read for 30 minutes every day. And I chose a time frame where very early in the morning, even before my work commences for the day. I think after breakfast or so, I read for just 30 minutes. I didn't start that in January. I can't remember the month I started, but I discovered that, and every day I was consistent. Most of the day I was consistent, 30 minutes every day. Do you believe that after some months, but towards the ending of the year, I discovered that I've read over 8 books, cover to cover, despite my very time. If I was so shocked, I was so shocked at what I have done. Even myself, I was like, wow, who did this? Me? I read this much book. It was more than that. And the beauty was from cover to cover, which I've been finding very difficult to do. Why? Because I brought in structure. For you to learn productively, build a structure around it. Don't tell yourself whenever I find time. You will never find time. You will never find time. But let it be that every day I learn for 1 hour if possible, maybe early in the morning before going out, or maybe during the break, my break period during work hour, I learn for 30 minutes, 15 minutes, or maybe in the night when I return, maybe speaking to a professional. And even if you're a student, just maybe saying in secondary school, you're learning. Why not ensure that after whatever learning or teaching exposure you have in the classroom, schedule a time in the evening when you review all of what you've learned. So what's critical here is that you build a structure around your learning journey. That structure will help you for accountability. That structure will help you for consistency. That structure will help you for intentionality. That structure will help you for deliberateness. So it's very important that we apply this.
Thank you. Wow. I have my notepad filled already. So you spoke about 6 things, six strategies. You're talking about setting the goal, have a big picture, and that's super amazing because I'm a redemptive career mentor. So I play around that space as well, and I work with especially teenagers and young adults. And one basic part of you having a good footing in your career or in your purpose as a person is to have a big picture. So the same thing that I've seen that same play out in learning. So if you're going to learn well before you even start out at all, you have to connect your learning experience with the big picture. That's super amazing. So and then you said set the scope for the learning experience. Have the starting point to the finish point. I love that. Break it down and then leverage various learning approaches and then don't be monotonous. Be embrace variety. That's so amazing. So the very important part for me, I've learned this now, and that's learn in the open. I remember practicing this while I was still in the university because I stumbled on this while I was undergraduate, and that was after I've learned in the class and the lecturers that taught us. I found myself after reading going somewhere. Now this is not first of all it started like I just wanted to express myself. So I'll just go somewhere because probably I don't have people around. Just go somewhere very silent, and then I start to teach imaginary people, and then I gravitated to teaching my colleagues, and like deliberately asking them, "Did you understand this?" And then in the process of learning, actually, I'm also trying to understand, but I just found out that um, learning through communicating the knowledge you are actually acquiring, it makes it more so it solidifies your learning process and it becomes something that cannot really slip out of your fingers because you get to acquire to absorb that knowledge into your memory much more. And that was very important that you mentioned. So even as a professional, even if you're a student, learning the open learning with people and just communicating your knowledge helps to make that that process much more productive. That's amazing. I'm taking that also as something I'm going to be doing this coming year. So okay, so and then yeah, you spoke about embrace peer-to-peer learning, and then last one was structure your learning, build a structure around it. That's one very important insight as well. So before I open um before I probably allow people if anybody have questions, I'm going to ask one more question. I would have had two more questions, but you touched on the other one, and that's yeah, you touched on that one. So I'm going to ask this, and that is what would you say there is any connections between productive learning and cognitive development? Is there any is there a place what's the place of cognitive development in attaining productive learning? Is there a
All right.
connection between yeah?
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Yeah, when it comes to cognitive development and productive learning, definitely there is a connection there. Um, the whole thing around cognitive development is developing the cognitive domain. And the cognitive domain speaks to the reasoning, the intellect, the mind. So how does cognitive development affect productive learning? Number one, it enhances problem solving. I didn't go to speak to some of what today is known as maybe the critical skill sets because we that's not the focus of this evening engagement. But you will agree with me that problem solving, like we will always say when it comes to teaching and learning in the 21st century because of the times we live in. I will always, whenever I speak at various events, I'll always tell people that even many of the job that our learners maybe today in the K-12, and even those of us on this call, all of us are still young in a sense. Some of the jobs that we will deal with in the days in the years ahead, we don't even know them. We don't even know what they are because of the rate at which technology is really, really advancing. So one of the critical key skill sets that's required in the 21st century is problem solving because these
Yeah.
are fundamentals. These are basic. No matter what you find yourself doing 10, 20, 30 years from now, there will still be a problem and we still need to solve that problem. So, how do we solve problems? So, but in summary, number one, cognitive development vis-a-vis productive learning helps to enhance problem solving. Number two, it deepens comprehension. When you have your cognition, when your cognition is very developed, it deepens your ability to be able to process information very easily and to learn and to have a better understanding and even retention. So that's number two. Number one is it enhances problem solving because of the varied exposure it brings. Number two, it deepens your comprehension ability. Number three, it creates for adaptability in learning. Learning is not rigid. Learning is flexible. That was why I spoke to using various strategies and approaches when learning. And there's not learning is not a one straight jacket. It's not a one size fits all. That's not what learning is because when you have varied experiences, maybe you encounter a complex learning problem or something, unless you are adaptable in your learning, what works for problem A may not work for problem B. So, cognitive development makes you to be adaptable, make you adaptable in your learning. Number four, very quickly,
Yeah.
it enhances memory retention. It improves your ability to retain the concept you're learning and even to be able to learn for extended periods of time, supporting what we call long-term memory. And then number five, to put it out, number five, lastly, is it helps for effective decision making. Because of the level of the development of your cognition, it helps you to be able to make better decisions, allowing you as a learner to make better choices, to make better judgments, even during the learning processes. I think I will stop there.
Wow, wow. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that. This very insightful knowledge. So yeah, thank you, Jason. Jason said that this is very interesting. This was very interesting. Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna say ask again. If there's none, we can pause the webinar. Is there any question at all? All my questions have been answered personally. So, is there any question at all you want our guests to address? You can either unmute or type it. So while we looking forward to that, thank you so much, Mr. Omotayo. Thank you for this privilege. We are so happy to have you on board. And of course, the recording of this session is going to go far and wide. So I think we do not have question for you, Mason. So thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for having me. I believe sometimes any other time you could always feel free to reach out. I will be happy to engage. All right,
Yes, of
everyone.
course. We are coming
Um,
back.
okay.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. So in that case, we're going to be rounding up this webinar, and I want to say thank you everyone for joining.